right, we're going to do our final inductee right now. We're very happy about this. Mike Theobald has truly been a bluegrass pioneer in the state of Kansas, and he's had an enormous impact on bluegrass music in our region. He's been an active bluegrass musician in the KBA since the club's early days. Mike says that he's not exactly sure when he served on the KBA board of directors, but he thinks it was during the mid-70s. For many of those years, he helped play in the club shows and performed at a lot of them, and of course also helped on the newsletter during his time of service. Mike is the son of Jack Theobald, who was inducted into the KBA Hall of Fame in 2013. And it's certainly safe to say that without Mike and Jack Theobald, bluegrass music in the state of Kansas would not be where it is today. In fact, according to Orrin Friesen, who is sort of our resident historian of bluegrass music in the state, Mike and his father started the first bluegrass band in the state of Kansas, which I think is pretty fantastic. I think you got a good job for that. Mike was also the first three-finger Scruggs-style banjo player in the state of Kansas that we know of also, and has certainly influenced a lot of banjo players over the years, myself included. Mike and Jack recorded their first album in 1963 or 4, and went on to record several more albums and a few singles also. In the early days, their band was called the Bluegrass Country Boys, and later became Jack and Mike Theobald and Bluegrass Country. Mike is the person responsible for introducing Orrin Friesen to bluegrass music in the 60s when they both attended Wichita State University. And as you probably know, Orrin is another Hall of Fame member that's had a big influence on bluegrass in the state. Orrin said that when he was talking with Vince Gill several years ago, Vince told him that hearing Mike and Jack's band is what got him excited about playing bluegrass music as a teenager. So it's pretty awesome that Mike and Jack helped get Vince Gill's music career going, and of course we all know that Vince has gone on to be a superstar picker and singer. It's wonderful that Mike and his dad had such a hand in that. You know, you may know that Mike didn't start off playing, you may not know that Mike didn't start off playing the banjo. His first bluegrass instrument was the mandolin. In fact, he played mandolin on his dad's radio show on KNIC in Winfield in 1962. One of the highlights of Mike's bluegrass career was in 1985 when he and his band played on the Nashville Network show called Fire on the Mountain. The other group that played the show that night, according to Orrin Friesen, which was also there, he said the other band was the Snuffy Jenkins Band. And as you probably know, Snuffy was an early innovator of the three-finger style banjo playing, and he was a major influence on Earl Scruggs. Mike has shared the stage with countless bluegrass greats over the years, including Bill Monroe and the Bluegrass Boys, The Seldom Seen, Doc Watson, Rhonda Vincent, and a whole long list with just too many to name. For many years, Mike and Jack put on a lot of bluegrass shows at the American Legion building in Belle Plaine, Kansas. Brad Bennett told me that in 1981 or 2, he and his brothers, Bill and Tim, played their very first bluegrass live performance there at the American Legion building in Belle Plaine. Bill's son, Mark Bennett, played the bass, and Vern Weitzel played dobro. And Brad said that they played the only 3 bluegrass songs they knew at the time. And then they got clapped back on to play another song, and they didn't know anymore. So they played one of the previous songs again. So, good job, Brad. So, today, Mike serves as the general manager of KWLS Radio, a country station in Wichita that, according to Mike, plays everything from modern and classic country to red dirt and bluegrass. He also co-hosts a bluegrass show on KWLS with Stan Greer on Sunday afternoon called Mike and the Ranger, Bluegrass and More. Mike still plays banjo today with his group Kansas Heart, along with his wife and mandolin player, Vicki Lynn Theobald. And now, the Kansas Bluegrass Association is very proud to induct Mike Theobald into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah!
But I brought my teleprompter anyway. I want to thank the directors of the KBA for this honor. It's truly a privilege. I'm going to kind of back up a little bit on the history of how before the KBA was started, because it kind of developed into the KBA from what what was going on at that time. My earliest memory of bluegrass was listening to my dad playing with a fiddle player, some pop fiddle music in a living room in Yates Center, Kansas. I was probably 3 or 4 years old, a little kitty rocker, and that's about all I can remember of that memory. Basically, I had no choice but to get into music, because it was all I knew was music to listen and to appreciate. When I was growing up, there were no festivals really in our part of the country, no bluegrass banjo players like there is today, at least in these parts. About 12 years old, I bought my first harmony banjo that I had saved my lawn mowing money up for, with money from a pawn shop downtown Wichita. I took it home. I didn't know how to tune it, so I come up with some kind of a tuning that worked. It wasn't right, but it worked, and I come up with some rolls that weren't right, but they worked. And then about a year later, a friend of my dad's, an entertainer and showman by the name of Buster Jenkins, great fiddle player, an excellent showman. He was learning to play the banjo, and he came through, and he bought a banjo off of Ralph Stanley, as an old Gibson art stock, and I was in total awe of that banjo and picking it, and he straightened me out on the rolls and got me going in a better way. He showed me the forward reverse banjo roll. Banjo players, you know what that is. You probably, if you're a banjo player, relate to this. I was banned in the bathroom most of the time by my brother and sisters because I was playing that roll over and over again. And but it wasn't so bad. The acoustics in there are great. From there, my dad allowed me to start playing on the radio shows. He was recording radio shows for some of the local stations at that time. We started doing a few gigs. Fiddle player, we had a fiddle player out of Oklahoma by the name of Jack Jarman, and a local steel guitar player who became is an excellent dobro player, Stan Holmes, and he could play just like Josh Graves could, all those Strokes instrumentals. So that was really cool. And it was about the same time I met Orrin Friesen at KMUW. He gave me my first radio gig on a folk music show. And my first, for you Shocker fans, my first news guy was Mike Kennedy. I don't know if that really applies to anything. But anyway, moving forward a bit, our band had changed personnel by the early 70s. And from that band came the formation of the Kansas Bluegrass Association. The band included myself, my dad, Dan Koch, gay aunt, and a barber from Hayesville, Kansas by the name of Joe Payton. And our band was playing the festival circuits in Arkansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, Texas. But there wasn't a whole lot of things going on here in Kansas. My dad had monthly bluegrass shows, as Fran was talking about. And so somewhere along the way, Joe, who was a Hayesville JC, got inspired to put together a bluegrass festival with the help of Fran and Bill and Jay. They all put on that festival with the help of the Hayesville JCs, and that's where the festival or the association was formed. And there is a stage at the Riggs Park in Hayesville as a result of that festival that still is there today. So I've played a ton of KBA shows, festivals, and I really appreciate the KBA for all they've done in preserving the music. The youth program they're doing now, I think, is fantastic. I'm not spending, as Mark said, I'm spending a lot of time managing a station and doing a bluegrass show, so I haven't picked a lot. So maybe if I shut up now, we can get to play here. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Before we go back to the regularly scheduled programming, I want to introduce you to the chairwoman of the nominating committee, I guess it is, for the Hall of Fame. Brad Bennett and I are members, but the chairwoman is the lovely and talented Mindy Pribbernow.